Welcome back, everyone. So, if you're a virtual university student staring down the barrel of your MGT610 Business Ethics final, well, you are exactly where you need to be. We've been digging deep into the web, scrolling through YouTube, and poring over massive files of actual past papers just to crack the exact VU exam style. Today, we're hacking this exam together so you can absolutely crush those finals. Let's get right into it.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with the MGT610 game plan, move into a theory smackdown, look at market systems, jump into applied ethics, and finally, simulate some actual past paper scenarios.
All right, Section 1, the MGT610 game plan. Let's decode that virtual university exam style.
Look, based on our deep dive into the past papers, your study plan actually needs a major shift. Please, don't just read your textbook linearly. It's a trap. The examiners absolutely love 4 specific patterns. First up, there is a heavy focus on multiple choice questions. Second, they love throwing scenario-based ethical dilemmas at you, where you actually have to apply a theory. Third, you will for sure be asked to match theorists, like your Kants, your Benthams, your Smiths, to their specific theories. And finally, watch out for the classic VU trap, identifying exceptions in lists. You've got to be super prepared for questions asking which of the following is not a feature or a rule. Keep these 4 patterns in your back pocket as we go through the rest of this session.
Moving on to Section 2, Theory Smackdown. It's Utilitarianism versus Kantian ethics.
So, examiners constantly pit these 2 foundational theories against each other. It's like a heavyweight title fight. And the crucial point for you is understanding the absolute core difference between them. On one side, we have utilitarianism, championed by Jeremy Bentham, which focuses entirely on the consequences of an action. It's all about weighing those social costs and benefits to maximize utility. The greatest good for the greatest number. But then, on the flip side, we have Kantian ethics from Immanuel Kant, and this completely ignores the consequences. It focuses purely on your interior motivations. Did you act out of a sense of duty? Did you follow the categorical imperative? For the exam, just drill this into your head. Utilitarianism equals outcomes, and Kant equals motivations. Simple as that.
Let's zoom in on utilitarianism for a second. This famous quote from Jeremy Bentham really defines the mathematical nature of the theory. It's all about summing up utilities. And honestly, this perfectly illustrates a famous case study that shows up in past papers all the time, the infamous Ford Pinto case. So Ford actually knew their car would explode in low-speed rear-end collisions, but they did a cost-benefit analysis. They calculated it would cost about $137 million to fix all the cars, but only $49 million to just pay damages to the victims' families. Crazy, right? Because the financial cost of fixing the cars was higher than the cost of human lives. According to their math, they just didn't fix it. The exam will absolutely test your understanding of how businesses use this very specific utilitarian cost-benefit analysis to make real-world decisions.
Now, jumping back to the other side of the ring, we have Kant's categorical imperative. You absolutely need to memorize 2 massive terms here, universalizability and reversibility. Universalizability basically means asking yourself, could everyone in the world act this way in principle? Like, if you lie, would it be okay if literally everyone else lied? Reversibility, on the other hand, is essentially just the golden rule. Are you willing to have others use this exact same reasoning on you? Past papers love, and I mean literally love, testing these definitions in the multiple choice section, so definitely lock them into your memory.
All right, on to Section 3, Market Systems. Free markets versus command economies.
Here's where we shift gears a bit into systemic ethics. On one hand, we have the free market system, which is super characteristic of individualistic societies. It totally relies on Adam Smith's famous invisible hand, that really cool idea that when individuals just pursue their own self-interest, they somehow inadvertently promote the welfare of the whole society. Pretty wild concept. On the totally opposite end, though, is the command economy, which is characteristic of communitarian systems. In this setup, a single authority, usually the government, decides exactly what to produce and exactly who gets it. No invisible hand there, just a very visible commanding one.
Now, for perfectly competitive free markets to actually exist, they require 7 very strict features. Listen up, because examiners absolutely love pulling which of the following is not a feature questions straight from this exact list. You've got to have numerous buyers and sellers, free entry and exit, full and perfect information, exactly similar goods, no external costs, rational utility maximizers, and absolutely 0 external regulation. If you see an MCQ asking you to identify a false feature on the exam, I guarantee it will be a sneaky little twist on one of these 7, so definitely memorize this list.
Want to see exactly how this topic shows up? Here is a direct question from a past paper. When they ask which right is embodied by perfectly competitive free markets, the correct answer is the negative right of freedom from coercion. And why is that? Well, because in a perfectly competitive market, no single buyer or seller has the power to force anyone else to accept their terms. Everyone's just freely making choices.
Okay, Section 4, Applied Ethics. We're talking pollution, advertising, and consumer duties. Sometimes the exam just tests highly specific, random factual recall right from your handouts. Here is a massive one regarding environmental ethics that pops up again and again. Over the past 150 years, deforestation has contributed exactly 1/3, so 33%, to the atmospheric buildup of CO2. Let's commit that to memory right now. When you see that specific stat on the final, you'll know exactly which option to click without even breaking a sweat. And hey, speaking of the environment, how do we actually solve pollution ethically? Well, here is another direct past paper question for you. Which one of the following is the principal utilitarian remedy for pollution? The answer? To internalize the external costs of production. Remember how we talked about utilitarians? They view pollution as a market defect, where the producer isn't paying the full cost of the gross mess they're making. So the remedy is forcing them to absorb or internalize those costs. Makes perfect sense when you think about it.
Next up in the applied ethics realm is the contractual theory of a business's duties to its consumers. There are 4 main duties here: comply with the terms of the sales contract, disclose the nature of the product, avoid misrepresentation, and avoid the use of duress and undue influence. But all right, here's the inside scoop for the exam. If you see a question asking for the main objection or criticism against this contractual theory, the answer they want is that it's simply unrealistic. Why? Because the theory assumes buyers and sellers meet as absolute equals, which, let's be real, rarely ever happens in the actual business world.
And finally, Section 5, Simulating Past Paper Scenarios, putting your knowledge to the ultimate test. Let's put you in the hot seat with some rapid-fire questions drawn straight from the final term archives.
All right, here is your first scenario. Suppose a female manager supervises 10 people, and one of them happens to be a really good friend. One day, she catches this friend stealing from the company. Oh boy. Should she turn her friend in, as company policy strictly requires, or say nothing just to protect her? According to your syllabus, what specific kind of ethical conflict is this? Think about it for a second.
Let's see how you did. If we look at the actual past paper, the answer is a conflict between caring and justice. See, justice demands strict impartiality, treating everyone exactly the same, which means she absolutely must report the theft. But the ethics of care demands partiality, protecting and nurturing the specific web of relationships you have, which means protecting her friend. The examiners love testing this specific tension, so be ready for it.
Let's try another one to test your pattern recognition, this time on marketing ethics. You purchase a product because you were super inspired by an advertisement you saw. However, after the purchase, you realize the actual functionalities of the product do not match what was promised in the ad at all. What specific category of advertisement is this? Any guesses?
Yep, the answer is deceptive advertisement. While we all know the primary function of commercial ads is obviously to sell products to prospective buyers, honesty is a strict, non-negotiable ethical boundary. Deception or misrepresentation in advertising is considered highly unethical because, as another past paper question actually points out, misrepresentation makes true freedom of choice impossible for the consumer.
Wow, okay. We have covered a ton of ground today, from the pure mouth of utilitarianism to the strict, unwavering duties of Kant, and right into the tricky wording of those VU multiple choice questions. I want to leave you with a provocative thought to ponder as you finish up your late-night revisions. Look back at those 7 strict conditions for a perfectly competitive free market we talked about earlier. Complete, perfect information, absolutely no external costs. Think about it. Can a perfectly free market ever truly exist in the real world? Or is it just a theoretical ideal we use to measure our messy business ethics against? Keep asking these kinds of questions, trust in the preparation we just did, and go absolutely crush that MGT610 final. Best of luck. You've got this.